This is a home that I've been in for about 30 years. I didn't have any real aspirations for it when I moved in, but little by little, my brief became to transform it into what I thought at least would be a very authentic Italian villa. I wanted all of us to be transported when they came through my gate and walked into my foyer, not to know where they were. And I wanted to carry that through everywhere they might go, out into the garden, to the furthest corners of the property. I wanted them always to think they were in Italy, or perhaps the south of France. So there are no real mistakes here in the sense that something has gone unthought of. Everything was carefully calculated and devised, right down to throwing my morning coffee on the paths to give them more patina. And so I continue to do that to this day.
I don't think I've ever been this close to something from the first century.
Yeah.
Richard, there's something very calming about this house. I was thinking about it a lot in that seeing how there's that continuum of artistry. You have things from the first century next to the 21st century.
That's right.
And it makes you kind of feel hopeful about the future.
Exactly. The importance of art all down through the centuries, it's a continuing process, and I think a bright spot in our perspective.
This is your dining room, but it feels like a gallery too.
This is the dining room, but it was built very much with the intention of being a gallery as well.
Did you commission this piece, or this
No.
is how it was displayed and you thought, I'm going to put this in my dining room?
I did. I bought it specifically for this place. It's 192 elements. Humorously, he makes the point that if you've seen one painting, you've seen them all. Because they're all the same.
Fireplace. Love how you did this.
An old fireplace, the Roman fireplace.
This is like its own installation almost,
Yes.
because you've got a piece of artwork on the ground
Yes.
leaning against it, and then
an old Italian mirror, probably 17th century. Probably was a picture frame actually originally. Well, this is my library, and I think of it as truly a working library. I really do spend time with these books at one time or another. And the room itself is just an amalgam of lots of things that I'm interested in. There's a group of masks. There's a very good Italian, or possibly French, mirror, which I've stripped down to the gesso. We have an architectural model of a Duomo. Hello.
wow.
Come on up. So
Is this cardboard?
this is cardboard. This is done by Florian von Drexel, who's a wonderful sculptor. I got
Can I
turned
get
on.
close to it?
You can walk right up to it. You can touch it.
How did you ever find this? Where?
I discovered the artist. He had a piece on the cover of the New York Times magazine one Sunday, and I was really taken by it. So I sleuthed him down, and eventually.
And you commissioned him for this
I
wall?
commissioned this piece specifically for the wall.
By the way, the floor.
The floor I had painted in a faux pattern, a faux marble pattern.
It just, and then here we have a velvet.
A little 19th century Italian chair. Again, I love the juxtaposition of the
too.
old and the new. Well, this is the master bedroom. This room was really carved out of a warren of small rooms. It was totally gutted, so everything you see here is a new surface that was added in about 1999. That includes the columns, it includes the coffered ceiling, it includes the bookcases, the stone fireplace is the same. So everything has been created new, but always to be very authentically old in appearance, and hopefully, I've succeeded. I wanted this to mimic a bathroom from a luxury suite, perhaps at a Claridge's.
Okay, I think you took it a level past that. Tell me about the marble.
The marble.
Did you design, of course, the whole pattern for what you wanted?
It's an Italian pattern, and it's a combination of a black veined marble and the purple marble is a Fior di Pesco.
Which you then did here.
Which we carried throughout the entire room, and I like combining it with mahogany.
Richard, rumor has it that you are very hands-on with this extraordinary Vauxhall garden. In fact, you do, on a daily basis, all the trimming,
I do. Believe it or not.
I'm sure it's kind of therapeutic.
It's wonderfully therapeutic, and it's also not as daunting as you might think, because once the forms are set, it's a very slow-growing plant.
I read also that you had to create all these different layers, corrective heights, to give the sense of undulation of the
That is
boxwood?
correct.
So then, once you built the terraces, did you install all the boxwood at once?
No. We did this in phases. Once I got going, I said,
Sure, why not?
that's
While
what
we're
we're
at
gonna
it.
do.
It's the while we're at
Right.
it in Boxwood
Yes.
Dreams. I can't believe that all this is only on 1 acre, which is a lot for Los Angeles, but
a
it
little
feels
less, actually.
it feels like 10 worlds.
Well-
I mean, literally these different time periods. What these columns, then you've got modern sculpture. How do you use this space? How did you create it?
None of it has a real use. It's all done for my visual pleasure.
Which is the most important thing of all.
We do use it, of course, in certain ways, but it was never built to be functional necessarily.
I love that. That's like the biggest luxury that you can have. But tell me about these sculpture moments.
These are massive, naturally quarried stones by a German artist named Ulrich Reckling, and each one weighs 6 tons. So you can imagine what the installation was here. The columns
it's so
came
romantic.
out of my old gallery, my former gallery, and I felt it such a shame to leave them there when we left the premises. So I brought them over here and built that wall and mounted them up there.
And the vines crawling up.
Yeah,
It's something out of a novel.
colonnade.
Richard, wait, all back here you're trimming too every day?
Well, as needed.
As needed? Wow.
So we're coming to a fragment of a 4th century Roman column.
4th century?
4th century.
Are you
That's
kidding
massively heavy and also difficult to install.
And it looks like it should always have been here. And how about this? I love the different heights.
This I found, I don't really know its age, but I like the juxtaposition again of the very old column, and this is a sculpture I recently completed.
Wait, this is yours too?
This is mine too. This was
amazing.
Inspired by the De Stijl school, the Dutch school of sculpture. And not terribly original, but I just love the form here in the middle of the garden.
Yes, and you were saying before about the kind of the boxwood, the soft shapes of the boxwood, and then the strong shapes of your sculpture.
If you look at almost any of my sculptures, they'll always be hard and linear and modular, and they'll play off the boxwood forms. So this is a entirely welded steel sculpture, very much inspired by a Bryce Marden drawing.
That you did? You did this?
That I did. And
I want to go through it. It's like a jungle gym for adults.
Well, it could be. The interesting thing about making your own sculpture, you can change the color whenever you want without offending anybody.
And have you?
No, not yet, but I'm planning it.
Really? What are you going to pick?
I'm not sure. Maybe I'll consult another Bryce Marden drawing.
Richard, I get almost emotional seeing this pool house because, of course, it's so iconic. And you got this so right with the scale of it, the drama of it. How did it come about? What inspired you?
Well, it actually is copied directly from Palladio's 16th century book with the dimensions, with the exact construction plans. So it's not an accident that it looks so authentic. And then it was eroded intentionally, of course.
Right, of course, to get
this. And patented, because this is redwood, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
This is redwood, and it's all been patented to look like stone.
So smart.
I had the very old fireplace, which is 19th century, before I built the structure. So we were able to build the structure around the fireplace. Constantly in here having a coffee, having a drink in the afternoon. It gets a lot of
all my calls. Tell me about.
Well, the floor I made, but I made it from very old stone, and we cut it into these squares and eroded the edges so that it would look worn. Very old capitals and columns, so it all contributes to the ancient quality of the whole.
And it feels like you're in a dream. And then, of course, what's so wonderful is all the vines and the way it's creeping in here into the room itself.
Yeah, it's all part of the antiquity that I'm trying to create.
It's magical.